Hello, good evening, buenas tardes. First, I'd like to thank the organizers. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be part of a community which I not only share values with, but also a professional belief that we're using innovative and technological tools which are very powerful in dealing with very complex situations and conflicts. Es mi tercera vez en Colombia y me hace muy feliz. Me parece que este país es muy especial. Pero ahora empezamos en inglés. So, my name is Arik Segal. I'm a mediator, an educator, and an entrepreneur. I established my own company about 5 years ago called Conntix, connecting people through innovation and technology. And today I'm going to show you one of my projects. So, this is a track 2 diplomacy project I initiated back in 2010. With the cooperation of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, a German foundation, which aims to improve Israeli-Turkish relations, which were deteriorated due to many reasons. We're not going to go into that. And I chose this picture to show you. This is an article I wrote last May, and it encapsulates the full cycle we've done with this project. So the conflict or the crisis in Israeli-Turkish relations started mainly with this incident back in 2010, in which 9 Turkish civilians died. It quickly developed into a political conflict and then to a conflict between the peoples, and then I initiated my project. And I just wrote this article and published it on a big Israeli newspaper back in May. And this was my way to bring it back to the people. And I think this project is very unique due to 2 reasons. First of all, because it's working on 2 dimensions, on the visual dimension, the physical dimension. Secondly, it's because I managed to get the support, financial support, and political support of the Israeli government. And this is what I'm going to show you today. This is my presentation, how to get your project governmentalized. So, step 1. Find an unmet need. Just as Mr. Zuckerberg or Waze found the need to get people around without getting stuck in traffic, or Facebook to get people connected online, you have to find some kind of an unmet need which has a very powerful impact. So in my context, does anyone know what this is? Well, if you try to connect to the internet, sometimes it pops up, so there's no connection. There was no connection between Israeli and Turkish civil society organizations. So governments work, political organizations work, business worked as usual, but there were no relations between civil society. Meaning I got emails from a Turkish high school teacher who wanted to visit Israeli high school, but he didn't know who to turn to. And then I got an email from an Israeli chef who wanted to contact Turkish Airlines and see what kind of food they get, but there was no connection. So then we researched and we found out that this is the need we're going to focus on. That was something that was missing, civil society relations. Secondly, what is very important is to establish a personal connection with decision makers. So in this picture, you can see me, I'm standing close to the deputy director of the consul in Israeli consulate in Istanbul. And I went to present them with a project in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And then I just kept in touch with them and briefed them about it. And this is something very crucial. Now, I know it's not that easy usually, but I think today, and governments and Ministry of Foreign Affairs are aware that non-state actors are becoming more important. So yes, they will be willing to meet with you and hear what you have to say. And this is a very important step. Next. Recruit your team of superheroes. Assuming you're not working alone, which is very difficult, you will need to recruit people that will work with you. Now, in my case, I was working with Turkish counterparts, so I had to also contact people from the other side, but also to create a team that works with me, around me. And what is important to remember in the context of teams in general, I think, in group cooperation, that it has to be value-based, interest-based, and social-based. So I picked up people that also share the same values of cooperation between Israeli and Arab Muslim states. People who have an interest, people who are experts in Turkey, journalists, and socialization is another element. So, and in addition, those people, they complement me. So they have a bigger network, they have some kind of skills, business skills, journalists who can write about it later. And it's also something that could change. It's very dynamic. So in my case, the project changed. In the second phase, we moved more to a civil society focus. So I recruited a person who was like the biggest civil society person in Israel who knows all the organizations. So, step 4. Now, this is something also very important. What is your comparative advantage? What is something that you can bring from your side that governments does not have? What is the value? What is the specific value you have for the government? In my case, and I think also mainly in our case as young people, innovators, is the issue of technology and social media, because we speak that language. And governments, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, have a lot of difficulties, and they're not free to do what they want on social media as we can. It needs to get approved, it has to follow the political lines, and that was my advantage. So what we did, we created a website, Facebook page, Twitter account, you know, so easy, and it has such a huge impact in convincing them and bringing them into the table. Today, to create a website, you can do it in 1 day for free, and one of the biggest incentives for them to cooperate with us and support us financially was that I presented the website to the Israeli consulate, and it was a visual. They saw, wow, there is a website, it exists, and then they gave us money. Now, we have to remember that there's always a political context, and we have to take it into our own advantage. In our case, started with some kind of a political discussion, then a military incident. But as I always teach my students, crisis is also an opportunity. So I assume in your cases, again, there's some kind of conflict that is the opportunity. And again, we need to leverage the political environment. When relations got better, when there was reconciliation between Israeli and Turkish prime ministers, we managed to give a huge push to the project. And finally, the final outcome is to create a sustainable ongoing mechanism, which is what we have today. We have an online virtual platform in which we connect between Israeli and Turkish civil society organizations, meaning culture, sports, NGOs, academia, anything that is not business and not politics. And we have an annual meeting in which we bring civil society organizations to meet in Istanbul or in Tel Aviv, and we just create a physical connection between those organizations. For example, last year we brought people from organizations such as women empowerment, youth, democracy. They meet, and then they cooperate on different levels. And in the conference, what you can see on the right side, the conference was organized also by the Israeli consulate, so they financed it, and we managed to get a lot of people to come into the conference and be part of it. And what is important here, I think, is that it's a mechanism. So it has a purpose. It has an ongoing budget. It has a structure. And this is something we usually, in our field, we're having a bit of a difficult time to visualize or to implement. So I would say that in this aspect, create something that is ongoing, that has a very, very important value and a comparative advantage. Finally, and most important, don't give up like this little robot. There are going to be political challenges, there are going to be organizational challenges, financial challenges, but we can't give up. And each time you have to innovate and find the next solution in which you can further push the project. And that's it. Thank you very much.